Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the Sabeen Foundation podcast, where we'll be discussing a lot of topics related to geek culture. I'd like to introduce the panel of people that will be taking part in this podcast. First of all, myself. I'm Umair Khan. I'm the founder of the Sabeen Foundation, as well as a former comic book reviewer and movie reviewer. And I feel like I have a lot of insights I could bring, so that's why I'm on this panel. My name is Amar Ahmed Khan. I am a co-founder of the Sabeen Foundation. I am a big comic book enthusiast. I am an avid Yu-Gi-Oh player and somewhat of an expert in terms of comic books. So I believe I'm suited for this reason.
Hi, my name is Mohammed Janeer Akram, and I am currently a software engineer. But I've basically been in the movie reviewing and the comic book and DC Marvel stuff since I was a kid, and I believe I can share a lot of knowledge from my end.
Hi, so my name is Asad. I am one of the uh, basically the people who are here, and just honored to be here. And apart from that, I've just been a huge DC comic book fan and DC EU fan as well. So that's why, like, having read so many DC comic books and also seen so many movies, both animated and live action, that's why I just feel like that. Yeah, this is a very good forum to discuss all things related to comic books, mangas, especially DC. So that's why.
All right. My name is Suhaib, Sayyid Suhaib, and I'm from Faisalabad. And I am not really much of a reviewer, but I'm just a comic book lover. I've been in love with comics like from my childhood, from Batman to like Iron Man, everyone, and from DC to Marvel, everything I love. Obviously, I preferred DC a little bit above Marvel, and that's why I'm given the title of DC fanboy in my group. But then again, we all have our preferences, and inshallah, we'll have a lot of fun in this podcast while discussing, the things we love and the things we are passionate about. Over to you, Mubarak.
Okay, so I'm Mubarak. I used to be a cosplayer. Now I'm just casual about it. I'm a casual fan of comic books and, all sorts of geekery. And yeah, I'm going to be that voice of reason, a psychologist's perspective on all things comic book. Over to you, Amar. No, Umair, sorry.
It's totally fine. We're going to have a lot of hiccups during these podcasts. We're getting used to it, so don't. We're open to feedback as well, and we're getting used to the format, so don't take that too harshly. I won't be here for this first episode, but I would like to make a couple points before we move on. 1984 or Wonder Woman 84. My points before I move off is that I felt personally that the movie was great as a sequel to Wonder Woman, but it did not fit into the DCEU as a whole. It was a good sequel. It wasn't a great movie by any means. I mean, it was a great sequel. It wasn't a good movie by any means, but it was a decent movie as a sequel. In the overall perspective of the DCEU, I feel like the movie created more problems than it solved. Uh, I feel like we're on consensus here based on facial reactions, but I'd like to open the floor. Maybe I'll start with Suhaib and see what he has to say.
All right. Thank you very much for the floor. I think I'll start with the cons first, end with the pros, so I end it on a more positive note, and then give the ratings accordingly. For the cons, I will say that the movie's pacing was a very off. Like the first 20 minutes, where the first two intro scenes that we see from the Themyscira and from normal 80 from the 84 times, those were very good and those were very well paced, and that gave a really good introduction to the movie. But then it started to nod off, like the pacing went off. It was all over the place from all over throughout the movie, throughout the rest of the movie. Then another issue that I had with the movie was the Steve Trevor phenomena. Like, all right, that's good that they brought him back, and it's good that they brought him back on a smaller scale, like just for this movie. But why was he looking like someone else? Like the stone can grant any wish possible, right? It built a wall right in the middle of Egypt, an entire wall in the middle of the city, and it can't bring Steve Trevor back in his original face. That was something weird to me. And like the scenes where Wonder Woman is like just believing it that it's Steve Trevor and he's being with a guy that looks somewhat like his. Like we can see it's Chris Pine and we can see it's Steve Trevor, but like everybody else sees the face of the other guy. Then in this movie particularly, Gal Gadot really, not like not one of the finest acting jobs she's in. The only scene that I really thought that she acted, or at least tried to act, was the one where she takes back her wish. Other than that, she was all over the place, and thank God that they brought Chris Pine back because he really carried her throughout the movie. It was his charisma, his character's charisma that was really carrying Gal Gadot's Diana throughout the movie. And if Chris Pine wasn't there, I really would have had a tough time, following the movie with just the Diana scenes. And then again, the movie was named Wonder Woman 84. And to be honest, we saw very less scenes of Wonder Woman. Like, I think there was like total of 4 scenes where Wonder Woman really suited up. Like the first scene, the 84 scene, the car chase, the fight in the White House, and the end scene. I think those were the 4 scenes where she really suited up. And there was like Wonder Woman, and the point, and falling to that point, there was very less action. Like, fine, I give them the credit of doing a very different third act as compared to other superhero movies, but then again, it's a Wonder Woman movie, and she is a warrior at heart. And there was very little fight scenes, action scenes all over the movie, and I think that really lacked because, like in the first movie, the no man's land scene and the village scene, they really stand out. Like in the entire movie, they stand out as a whole, proper scene. And I think this movie lacked action. All right, and 2 things more in the cons would be, I think, first of all, I think they wasted Bialia. Bialia was such something that could have been saved for a movie like Black Adam, maybe, or something. They could have done more with the movie, because like even all those fans who have seen Young Justice or have read the DC lore, they know how important Bialia is to the DC lore, and they just wasted it. Like it was just a throwaway gig in this movie, and I really took I didn't feel nice about it. And it again, as Omer said, it created a lot of problems for the DCU. Like there were questions about if Wonder Woman learned how to fly in this movie in '84, why wasn't she flying in BVS in Justice League? Like there's a lot of questions that are raised. But I think Asad will have more cons, and Junaid will have more cons. So I'll move to the pros because those are very less. In the pros, I will first of all have the opening scenes. The opening scenes were great, right? The Themyscira competition was great, and even the light-hearted start to the Wonder Woman scene that she was foiling a robbery. That was also it was fun. If the movie was paced like that, or if the movie was even in that dimension, it would have been good. But it really changed after the first intro. The second really great point was Baba Minerva and the cheetah. Like she really acted well. She was given the role. It wasn't really used well in the movie. I think Asad will discuss more on how she wasn't used properly. but I really liked her acting. The cheetah final look was amazing. Chef's kisses to that. Mwah. And but uh, it was one of the highlights. Maxwell Lord was a really good addition. I think too many villains, but if we talk about him alone, like just Maxwell Lord, he actually portrayed it well. He acted well. He showed the characters, very evil side well, and then another thing was the good action scene that was Cheetah versus Wonder Woman. I mean, that was a very good action scene. There was a cool post-credit scene. Like I'm really grabbing on the pros right now, and and finally, it was so you can say it was a different try for a third act. Like usually, superhero movies have a beam high up in the air with a ticking clock, and the superheroes have to save, one thing or the other. But it was a little different. Like it was a very less action-packed um, third act, and it was different. And you can, give credit to, I'm really grabbing on two pros here right now. And I think at the end, I would give it a rating of around 6 to 6.5. I'm being a little generous here, to be honest, but I'm being generous because, how many movies did we really get in this year, right? And I think Warner Brothers really, at least gave us something. And just for that, it's like it shouldn't be 6 to 6.5, but just for that, just because they gave us some Wonder Woman at least. So that's 6.5 for me. I think that's pretty much sums up from my side. Over to the next speaker. I think it's Asad right now. So Asad, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Sohaib. And I think you've summed it up very beautifully. I mean, this is like, I would say 95% exactly what I would say about the movie as well. I mean, there was a lot of hit and miss. I know that the movie was trying to be very, very ambitious, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that you have to make sense while being ambitious. I mean, we've seen that example in The Mandalorian, where they introduced Luke Skywalker, Boba Fett, but they did it keeping in view the lore, very accurate. I mean, this is this is a digressed example, but again, it worked. It's the same principle of introducing nostalgia, introducing the source material, and of course keeping in view the actual timeline of the events. So given that, yes, it's an issue there. Secondly, just to add to Sohaib's point, it was one villain too many, I would say. The thing is that even though Kristen Wiig's performance was phenomenal, Peter Pascal's Maxwell Lord was even amazing. Even though it's not comic accurate, but as a standalone portrayal, it was good. It worked for me. It basically portrayed the Duke of Deception side of Maxwell Lord very, very accurately. So I was okay with that. However, I feel like it was one villain too many because uh, if you go back into the source material, Wonder Woman has a different relationship with both of these villains. With Cheetah, it's more of a regret because if you read the comics, they are very close friends before Barbara transitions into becoming Cheetah. And of course, I'm not going to explain the events that lead her to become Cheetah in the comics, but it's basically like Wonder Woman sort of blames herself that because of her negligence, because of her, if she was a bit better towards Barbara, Barbara might not have become Cheetah. And this is scratched very lightly in this movie, and I would have liked to see it more, but again, it was just briefly touched upon. So there's that. So you have this chemistry between Wonder Woman and Cheetah. With Maxwell Lord, it's like a very huge enmity that goes way back. Maxwell Lord isn't somebody with superhuman strength or anything of the sort. he just has a brain and some mind control. And with that, he has bested Wonder Woman in more than one occasions. I mean, if you pick up Justice League Generation Lost comic book, it's even shown that when Captain Atom goes into the future, it's known that Maxwell Lord actually manages to kill Wonder Woman as well. So that's saying something, considering Wonder Woman is on the level of the Greek gods and even the new gods as well. So that's saying something. Another thing that I have an issue with the the fact that they were trying to force elements to just for shock value only. The invisible jet was complete shock value. It didn't follow the source material at all. Apart from that, like Sohaib said, that they brought back Steve Trevor the way they did. It just doesn't justify that, and especially with the stone, they went to Celtic mythology, that the one mythology that nobody knows much about, and nobody even cares, because Celtic mythology is probably the most, I would say, the most boring of the lot. So again, you go to Celtic mythology and you go, okay, so there was some god of mischief or whatnot, and he created all of this stone that could grant you wishes. It's basically like a monkey's paw. I mean, just my suggestion, if they had gone with, okay, this was crafted by Loki. Now I know a lot of people are going to say that, hey, Loki belongs to the Marvel universe. Actually, he doesn't. Asgard has also made an appearance in DC Comics. Thor has also made an appearance in DC Comics. Mythology is not associated with any particular comic book. It's just that Marvel has concentrated more on Norse. DC has gone with Greek and the new gods of Jack Kirby. So the thing is, it's not a hard and fast rule that DC Comics cannot use Norse mythology. They can. And if you had capitalized it with Loki's artifact instead, it would have been much more explainable. People actually know Loki. So that would have worked. And it would have served the fan base as well, a little bit. Because again, it's not outside the rules that, yeah, DC can go for Norse mythology. Coming back to my last point against Wonder Woman, just like I'm doing the pro-con thing as well. My last point against Wonder Woman is that it wasn't, in Wonder Woman 1, you see this woman from Themyscira grow into this person, into the society. She's a fish out of water, but at the same time, she's exploring her powers and she's looking at right or wrong. And in the first movie, it's established how she put all of her hopes in the God Killer weapon when she was the God Killer. And at first, when I saw the movie, the whole armor thing, I thought maybe it's the same concept that they're going for, that, yeah, the armor doesn't make you powerful. It's you who is powerful. And it was such a missed opportunity that they could have gone with, but they didn't. So again, we're back to square one. So going with the pros now, Kristen Wiig's performance was amazing. I seriously loved the design that they went for Cheetah. I was okay with it. And especially the fight choreography was really good. Like, Cheetah was ferocious. And of course, there was one small inaccuracy, is that, how when Cheetah was attacking Wonder Woman, her armor was withstanding a little bit. I mean, come on, Cheetah is one of the entities in the DC universe who has actually damaged Superman with just her claws. So that's saying something. I mean, if you can scratch the Man of Steel, there's no armor in the world that can protect you from her claws. But given that, it's like the final fight sequence was insane. It was amazing. It was a treat. But I wish there was more. So, of course, Linda Carter's Asteria was one thing that I basically jumped out of. I was just like, oh my God, Linda Carter is there. Linda Carter is finally in the DCEU as a character of her own. I was thrilled at that. And last but not the least, of course, Pedro Pascal's acting. We already love him in The Mandalorian, and he has pretty much cemented his position in a lot of movies. But here, he acted out so well, I would say definitely props to him. So yeah, that's all that I have to say. So over to you, Junaid, for your opinion.
Hi. Thank you for the turn, but I think you have to give us the rating first before I start.
Oh yeah.
Or okay,
Actually, I would go with 5.5 out of 10. Sorry. I wanted to give it a 6. I really do. I'm a DC fanboy. I really want to give this movie something, but you can't be a blind follower. You have to call it out as it is. Yeah, I hate it,
all
but
right,
yeah, 5.5.
great. Okay, so there is not a lot of pros from my side, but a lot of cons. So I think I'll go with the pros first. The pros for me was the starting of the movie was just fabulous. Acting, the scene, the creation, the starting, the whole flow of the movie was just great until Gal Gadot came here, but came in the movie. The winning reaction was priceless. That okay, they had to tell Wonder Woman that okay, you don't have to win for you to become what you are, and that was a life lesson for her. But again, when they switched to the Wonder Woman part, that was when things started falling apart. So before I go into all the details of that, I would say this was one of the most pro scenes for me in the movie. The second was again the cheetah fight with Wonder Woman. Again, there were a few cons for it, but again, the that was one of the highlights of the movie. It could have gone longer, yes. It could have gone into two scenes, one fight where Cheetah could have won, and then she could have came back again for the Wonder Woman to defeat her, but gotten defeated. Okay, but it was too short in my opinion. But again, that scene was perfect. I mean, we don't always get what we want, but at least it was a bit perfection. Now to the cons. Okay, there are a lot of cons, so you have to bear with me. One of the cons is uh, in the starting, in the review universe, as we call it, the woman which opens the back briefcase while she's walking, that was on purpose. It was no way in an acting format. Again, there were scenes in the movie which really didn't make sense to be involved in the movie, such as the supermarket, the mall scene. Even if they didn't bring that scene in, they could have added more time for Cheetah, or they could have added more time for Max. Same case with the robbery scene. They could have added a lot more to the movie instead of adding scenes which don't really connect to the movie in some sort of way. Because I mean, as we all know, we've all seen Wonder Woman 1. She's a superhero, she's a good guy, she's a good girl, not a guy, but again, okay. So I mean, we know she's a actress, she's not a villain, she's a good guy. So this could have been avoided to make the movie more action packed. Then we come to the scene where now Max, the whole story when the stone came into being was that you have to be holding the stone for your wish to come true. But again, the streaming scene, nobody was holding the stone. As again, Max was the stone himself, but he couldn't grant the wishes unless someone was holding him. So for them to grant all those wishes, I don't see the point. How did he grant the wishes? Secondly, he granted the wishes, and then the scene came when Wonder Woman reverted her wish, and everything came back to normal. I mean, it couldn't just come back to normal. Like it's not like a mind trick that okay, we're not in what was the movie, The Men in Black. We're not in Men in Black. They just take a screenshot or take a photo and you just forget everything. There were missiles which were launched. There were countries which were forced for war, but they just snapped back after the reversion. That cannot happen. Then one point was the jet scene. Steve came back. I don't know how. They didn't give a backstory of when Steve came back. Steve just came back, and for some reason he found out everything until he met he met Diana. I mean, he cannot. He would be in such a shock until Diana met her. Diana met him, that he cannot just be normal. I mean, it should have been a shock to him. It should have taken days for him to find out everything, but it was just normal for him. Then the plane scene was, how in the world did Diana have access to every other part of the buildings? She had access to the military, she had access to archaeologists, bases, everything. She had access to the White House. I mean, that's not humanly possible. If she had access to all these, somebody should have known that she was something special. I mean, she would have been all over the news, and people would know when Wonder Woman came up. The face was the same. There was no Batman. Fine, Batman was the same thing, but he wore some kind of a mask. Wonder Woman, there was no mask. She should have been popular. Uh, okay, then there was a scene. Surprisingly, she has all the keys. I got into that. The whole point of Max was he could have been more powerful. He could have, I mean, he portrayed the character very well. I mean, there was no other highlight more than him. I mean, he went through the small parts, he went through emotions perfectly. Just to sum it out, this wasn't supposed to be a Wonder Woman movie. If we watch it like we did, it was more like a Max movie. But again, one of the things was that then, as she said in the end, while before the reversion of the reversion of the wish, that she had to lose all her powers to bring Steve back. But again, she was with Steve in the Egypt scene when she was using the lasso. The lasso worked. She was using all her powers. It worked. All her powers were working until and unless she told Steve that I had to make a wish, or she showed him that, okay, there was something which I did to lose myself, so you come back to me. I mean, this was a bit weird. And then again, the scene where she learns to fly. The scene where she learns to fly was, it should have been more believable. I mean, she just lost Steve. She should have been at least a bit emotional. Fine, even if she had to go save the world. I mean, she literally just dropped a tear or maybe two, and then she learned to fly. And Steve was out for the life, out from her life. So, I mean, this was something which I didn't get, like, proper acting, I believe, and there wasn't like any sort of emotions from Gal throughout the movie. I mean, I know I'm speaking a lot of cons for the movie, which shouldn't be there, but it's what I thought. The radar scene, as Asad, I believe, no, I don't know if it was a recording or not, but so the Gal scene was the she had somehow magically got the access for the aircraft, and somehow they moved. One thing I don't get is he was a World War I fighter. He cannot in any way know how to access a newly jet which had technologies from here till it went from here till there. And even if the buttons have all the labels, he would have taken more time, at least 5 minutes or 10 minutes, just to know, okay, this button is for this. He just flew the plane like he was just he went to sleep he went to sleep one night, and then the next day he woke up with all the powers, and then he went. There was no, I mean, he was flying a jet, right? He was flying a fighter jet. There was no army involved. There was only one airport involved, and that also a signal. Okay, there was a jet going on, and it disappeared. I mean, you guys have radars, right? Radars work through electromagnetism. Like you send out beams, it hits some object, and then it comes back. Even if there is something which is invisible, it will hit the thing, and it will reflect back to you, and you will still have the signal that there is something there. Even if you cannot see it, there is something there on the radar. That's how it works. So, and then the fireworks scene, the fireworks were hitting the plane, and the plane was being reflected by the fireworks. I mean, if the fireworks can reflect on the invisible plane, so can the radar. I mean, there's not a lot of difference in it. Uh, in the end, I would just say BVS was way better. People are complaining about BVS, but I seriously thought that BVS was way better than Wonder Woman 84. The last words which I would say was Wonder Woman 84, I renounce my wish. That's it.
Okay, Junaid, give us your number out of 10, and then I will start my part.
I will go with 5.5, as I said.
Oh. Okay, so I watched this as a very casual fan, okay? I loved the first Wonder Woman. My wife loved the first Wonder Woman. You know, it was a great thing. I went to the cinema. Me and Sohaib was on one side, and then my wife and the rest of the family were on the other side. Like, I kept elbowing Sohaib the whole time whenever there was an Easter egg. That was the thing that excited me the most. But then, like, eventually, like, towards the middle of the movie, I stopped elbowing him. I'm just like, oh, okay, this is what's happening now. It kind of got draggy, you know? Like, I don't know how to explain it properly, but it wasn't fun after a while. Like, and then they just started putting Easter eggs just so they could. And then I looked at my wife's reaction, and she was just like, well, because she's not a comic book fan, so she just didn't know any of the stuff that us geek people are supposed to know. So it's like when the invisible jet came, she's just like, okay, now there's an invisible jet. And, you know, there's like stuff that didn't make sense. And I'm going to say this as a whole. DC does not know how to, like, well, the DC movie universe does not know how to have that continuity. Okay. And they're just like plot holes and inaccuracies all over the place. I'm not going to go into the whole pro and con thing. I think you three did that already. There's just parts that I just don't want to discuss again. But like, see, overall, if you're talking about how it fits in the whole DC universe, like with BVS and Man of Steel and other movies, I don't think it really fit. You know, it's like
I agree.
It was awkward. And also, like, the biggest flaw that I have, I'm going to discuss it right now. Batman doing his research in BVS about Diana. Where did this whole 1984 go? Like, the whole year was erased. No eyewitnesses, okay? Nothing in the newspapers. Like, you'd have at least one newspaper, World Goes Crazy, 1984. You know, something like that. The world's greatest detective could not find a single piece of evidence about 1984. And we're just supposed to believe that. Like, that's something that I cannot stomach at all. Okay, everything else I'm like, okay, you know, it happens. Like, how do you do this, man? Like, how do you just put a whole bunch of stuff in a blender, blend it together, and say, here you go, here's a Wonder Woman smoothie. Just drink it and don't ask questions. Like, how does this happen? You know what? I'm going to open the floor to you guys. I want you to nitpick stuff like this, you know? Who wants to go first? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Like, these tiny inaccuracies as a greater part. Okay, so hey, you go first. You tell me.
Like, the biggest one was like, she learned to fly in 84. She forgot in 2016.
Okay, that's an excellent point. Asad, you next. Your biggest flaw with the movie. One biggest flaw. One.
It's very hard to pick one, but the cloaking power, where was it in the sequels? I mean, consider if we take Justice League as we saw, she could have cloaked the entire flying fox and it didn't have to be destroyed. Now, I know in the Zack Snyder's cut, it doesn't get destroyed, but that's what my qualm is. Where are these powers all along? Why don't we see their display in later movies? And that's why I agree with you. This particular movie causes more continuity issues for GCEU than it solves them.
What if Wonder Woman had turned Superman invisible while killing Doomsday?
My point exactly. My point. And if you can fly,
Yeah,
just a rock cannot disbalance you. You just get back up and just go at Doomsday. Superman
exactly.
wouldn't have died.
Yeah, I it's like, oh, I don't like
Okay,
terrorists
so
like this.
can I put forward like there was this discussion I was having with one of our other members, Omer, and I put forward some points like if I was to write Wonder Woman 84, how would I write it? Can I
Hey,
put them
just
forward?
hold on a second,
Please
Junaid.
go ahead.
Junaid, your biggest flaw, just one biggest flaw.
Again, it's very hard to pick one flaw. I mean, where do I start? Okay, so again, the one flaw which I think again is the invisible cloak power. She could have used it anywhere. I mean, it's 84. We're supposed to believe it's an 84 movie, right? And all the events, Justice League, BVS, are supposed to happen afterwards, which is a surprising fact that she didn't use any of her powers in the latest movies, in the latest universe, I mean, the era. 84, she learned how to fly, but there is no legit kind of flying in the next movie. She knew how to make the invisible cloak. There is no use of such powers in the next movie. And again, she had the armor, right? Where did she lose the armor or what? Or she just buried the armor somewhere? She could have used that armor anywhere. If she can defeat Cheetah with that armor, she can defeat anyone. Again, to Asad's point, Cheetah was the one who scratched the Man of Steel. So if she can use that armor, she can use it anywhere else. Why did she just not use it any place? That's my flaw.
Right. Okay.
Probably Asteria took it back after what she did to the armor.
Also, one more thing. Sure, a Linda Carter cameo, Asteria, that was great, but why? I mean, apart from geek value, what actually was the point of that? I'm going to be very, very honest here. No
I mean,
disrespect to
they
Linda
could.
Carter, but
No disrespect indeed, but I feel like it's probably setting up Wonder Woman 3 because it's already in the works now.
Yeah.
sure.
I mean,
I mean,
just
if,
the
if it's
idea
something
of
like this,
Asteria being the next villain. So, I mean, if they made this work, what's stopping them from making that work? Although this didn't work. Sorry.
I mean, the thing is,
No.
the people who didn't know about the movie, the comic culture, or the main actors, the main heroes of the DC universe. I
Yeah.
mean, for them watching it, they would have liked it. I mean, no wonder
Yeah.
IMDb got a 5.5 rating.
Yeah.
I mean,
True.
if people like
If it
us
was only
rated these
us
movies,
comic book fans, yeah.
yeah, it would maybe like 3 or 3.5, to be very honest.
Giving it a 3.5 would be just being dishonest. Like, I mean, come on, there were good bits to this movie, but it's like
No, I'm
it's
I'm
kind of
not
like
talking
this.
about.
The cons outweigh the pros. It's kind of
Yeah.
like that for us. We
Yeah.
I'm
acknowledge
talking
the
about the
pros, but
overall, right?
the overall experience, yeah. Like
Yeah,
for
yeah.
us, like it's if somebody just followed Wonder Woman based on the movies, then for them, yes, it could be a good experience because they don't know it yet. But
Mhm.
again, even for them, I feel like that there could be some, you know,
I mean, they
again,
could have
not
watched
everybody
cartoons at
just
least.
See,
thinks,
that's the point.
yeah,
Wonder Woman 1 was a movie that even the non-comic book lovers would have enjoyed, right? More. Like even the people who don't know the lore of the entire thing, like the the God of War, Ares, and everything, they would have enjoyed Wonder Woman 1. But Wonder Woman 2 was,
All over the place.
It was very Easter eggy,
Yeah.
but not actually informative. Like for
I mean, they
people
tried
who
to
go for
put
the movie.
everything in the movie.
Yeah,
They tried to put everything in the movie.
and us geeks, we enjoyed that. Like the beginning of the movie, I just kept elbowing Sohaib, and then like after a while, it just stopped because it just didn't make sense anymore. It was like that.
I agree.
That first mall scene was so fantastically done. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a good movie, and then
It was good. I mean,
oh.
although again, it was doing all of that. Yeah, men are trash, and they should be kicked around and all of that stuff. I was like, okay, fine. That's probably means just digging too much into it. But yeah,
Feminism, right?
One thing though, don't cameras have actually backups? Like Wonder Woman
Yeah,
destroyed
I
the
was
cameras, but don't they have like a backup feed where they can actually see what happened? Or that technology was not there in 84?
That wasn't there
I
in
had a
84.
little question.
Let's just that wasn't there. Also, she
mean-
was
I
on
mean, there were
camera
VHS.
for a few minutes before the recording went off. It's
there
like
was
there was like
Yeah,
there was a
right.
beginning, and then she throws her crown, and then the cameras break, and then is like, but then that recorded footage, where is that?
That's stored. Like
Yep.
even I think in Stranger Things it was recorded that footage remains in the system.
maybe she had access.
Should have seen season 2 of Stranger Things. at
Maybe
least.
she had
Yeah, I
access
know,
to
right?
those rooms as well, right?
Oh, maybe.
Since she had access to everything.
Okay, but I'm gonna put this in front of you guys. This is what I discussed with Umair, and this is what what basically I came up with, that okay, if this is the route or even slightly they took this route, I would be okay with it. I would completely be okay with it. Like, first thing first, you keep Maxwell Lord on the very outskirts. Like, he's the man behind the shadows, controlling everything. Because the Max Lord that we know wouldn't be as reckless as this guy was. The Max Lord that we know would be like, okay, there's a stone that grants wishes, but he wouldn't go all out to use that. He would get somebody else to do that and see, okay, how does it work out for them? So that at least he can plan, like, okay, this is how it works. If this is the case, then okay, I need to have some contingencies in place before I go forward with that. Okay.
I mean, again, in the movie, sorry, go ahead. In the movie,
go
in
ahead,
the start, he was making a point that I need, when he went to the White House, I need some place where I can hold hands with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Streaming doesn't do that.
Streaming kind of doesn't do that. I mean, if you ask me.
The stone can only work if. Yeah, go ahead.
If you touch.
The president said that you can touch people. Okay, so we just let that, like, I let that slide personally. Like, okay, fine, you can touch people with the particles and all that. So I'm just like, all right. But then there was like stuff that didn't make sense, like people revoking their wishes. Like, okay, what about that very first wish, the coffee? The guy who wished for the coffee and then he got the coffee.
Where did that go?
How does he revoke that wish? What side does the coffee come out from? Like stuff like that, like tiny stuff that they should have like paid attention to, tiny details that would have been so fantastic had they written this properly. Like,
I mean, the missiles, the missiles which were launched already, they had to enter the codes. For them to revert back, it could have taken a lot of time. Even if they reverted back their wishes.
Oh yes,
that was
nuclear warheads.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Nuclear warheads are detonating in the sky.
How can you revert it back, man?
Yeah. Exactly. They're not even vanishing. There's no flashpoint happening here. They're just like plain destroy. A nuke gets destroyed in the sky. It's going to
And
trigger
nothing
a
happens.
nuclear winter. It's going to trigger a nuclear winter.
Or at least an EMP.
It's insane. Exactly. My point exactly.
I mean, it wasn't like
And
Superman was going and taking a missile over the Earth or something. I
No,
mean, it
even
was
exactly.
still
even
on
if
the
that
Earth.
happened, like in the Dark Knight Returns Part Two, when that happened, Superman it blew up in space, but still the EMP of the city surrounding
Exactly.
that got impacted got blown off. Like Gotham was banned
Exactly. My point.
for out of while.
Like it,
So
it
this is
just
something that I wanted to put in front of you guys. This is something I wanted to put in front of you guys that you
Sure,
okay,
go
you want
ahead.
to go 80s, go 80s, okay? Diana secretly helping out people in the shadows, not coming out in the limelight per se. And of course the newspaper articles are going with, hey, I witnessed this, it was a woman and all of that, and then the newspaper starts dubbing her as Wonder Woman. That's where she gets her name. All right. And then we see Barbara, who's just trying to fit in but being all that klutzy and all of that, just being totally awkward. And but the thing is that she stands up for animal rights, and she's seen, like, holding up a sign that, hey, save the cheetahs and all of that, and nobody gives a shit about her, and which basically fits into the whole nerdy situation that, yeah, nobody cares about what she has to say. And Barbara, she thinks that, okay, if I have to be more assertive, okay, and she sees a woman, wearing cheetah skin bags or whatever, and directly goes to her and bashes her that, hey, how dare you use cheetah skin products, whatever. Gets into a scuffle with her husband, and that causes Diana to intervene. She was just passing by, and takes her away, and just be friends with her. But this particular scuffle with her husband has sort of created this hatred with men, and of course, then the harassing scene that follows. But this time there is no Diana intervention. By the way, there's no Diana, and
Yeah.
she gets robbed, but gets away with her pride hurt like hell, and that's where her hatred for men rises more. And the stone is discovered. The whole shebang follows that, hey, stone can grant wishes. Diana wishes Steve back, whatever. If you want to go with that, go ahead. But for me, it didn't work, so I'm not going ahead with that. The whole thing follows. This time, Barbara is just watching a cheetah documentary and trying to, type out the next campaign that she wants to do. She has the stone, and she picks the stone. She just reflects back to whatever the men treated her like that. And in her moment of sadness and misery, she realized that as a human, she is just an average being. She cannot even defend herself. Whereas a cheetah is just like, it can run fast, it can hunt, it's a predator. Okay. And in doing so, everybody has that one small childlike moment where they go like, I wish I was as good as this. And in that moment, she wishes that, I wish I was as like an apex predator, like a cheetah or something. And then we start seeing that transformation that she goes through, that, okay, all of a sudden she's confident and all of that. But then, of course, the transformation starts taking effect where she's actually a cheetah now. And of course, with her newfound powers, she starts taking out criminals and all of that. But it's kind of like the light Yagami situation now. Like, okay, he starts with taking out criminals and then goes batshit crazy. Same thing with Cheetah, that she starts out by taking out criminals, but soon transitions into this mad, like, man hunting, just this monster basically. Okay. So, of course, Diana has to finally intervene, and she gets her ass handed to her pretty much easily, gets the armor out, wears the armor, and goes like, okay, now I'm powerful. Goes ahead to Cheetah and gets her ass handed to her again. But this time she remembers how, like, Hippolyta told her, like, just remove your gauntlets whenever it's a life or death matter. Removes her gauntlets, she goes back, but completely crazy. And it's like the Superman versus Zod kind of fight. And of course, Diana comes out as the victor, but she's just so enraged right now that she's almost going in a berserker mode. And she is about to kill Cheetah when Steve Trevor appears right behind her. And he talks no jutsus her into all of this. And Diana is just like disbelieved that, how come Steve Trevor is here and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. That whole thing happens. She calms down, puts back her gauntlets and everything. And then when she looks up, Steve Trevor is not there. So she regards it as a hallucination. But atop a mountain, the icon for Dr. Fate is there, and Steve Trevor is standing beside Dr. Fate, and Dr. Fate is like, your job is done,
Whoa.
now go back. And Steve is like, are you sure this will work? And Dr. Fate is like, it will change many things, but it will be for the better. So now you have expanded the DCEU by bringing in Dr. Fate. What is he planning? Why did he intervene? Why this crucial moment? And then Cheetah is handed over to Amanda Waller's organization, who covers all the tracks, like the events never happened, because Amanda Waller has done that before. She can do so again. And in the 80s, Amanda Waller was in charge of the Suicide Squad. So Cheetah gets into the Suicide Squad, the whole bomb thing and everything. And then you end it with Amanda Waller meeting Maxwell Lord and going like, the experiment was a success. I think you owe us something. And Maxwell Lord goes like, yes, you'll have my full cooperation, whatever. Up to imagination. So there
Then
you
the
have
Wonder
it.
Woman 3 comes,
Right.
yeah.
Can I
And the
stand
woman.
and applaud this story? And
Yes.
I want to give a standing ovation to this.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
No,
you.
but like,
But it's
Wait, your head is
yes.
cut off now.
This is amazing, man. I mean, I would give this movie a 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Exactly.
like, it would have
This
been
is,
I mean,
this is amazing.
it would have made sense.
It
Not
would have made
this-
sense. Like
not
all of a
this
sudden, you
blended
have the
smoothie.
mystery. Yeah, you have this mystery because Dr. Fate has done this on many occasions where he has gone against fate, pretty much put himself in jeopardy doing so with the fates. And why is he doing that? What is he trying to prevent? What is the future event that he foresees that involves Cheetah not being dead? Up to interpretation.
And you already have Dr. Fate coming in for Black Adam. That could, build to that movie as well.
Exactly. You can have the new guards as well. You have Black Adam coming in as well. So connections, expand the universe, mystery. Ugh.
I mean, this is where Marvel is ahead of DC. Like they assemble stuff.
They
Have taken
plan
their
things.
sweet time with it.
Yeah.
They have taken their sweet time.
Yeah.
This is one thing that I will give Marvel every time. They really planned their MCU well.
Yep.
They very patient. It was a 10-year thing, but they nailed it. They went ahead. They nailed it. Now, continuity errors, time travel issues, whatever you have, but you have to admit that they almost came close to the Star Wars level craze.
I think they've surpassed that. I think Star Wars is older, but
Older, I
if
would
we
say.
look at it, the MCU has had that much of an impact with the fans, I guess. Maybe even more than Star Wars.
If you talk money wise, sure they've surpassed it. But if you talk like the craziness of the fans, the passion of the fans, I don't think it can cross Star Wars that easy. And I'm not a Star Wars fan. I'm just
That's up for another
quoting
debate.
you guys.
We're
Yeah, that's
we'll get
another
into that. But right now, Wonder Woman
That was a good-
84.
Yeah.
I think they were trying to go for an 84 out of 100 score with the Wonder Woman 84 title, but it just didn't work.
It just didn't work.
And
It just didn't
they
work.
actually flipped 84 to 48.
Yeah.
The thing again is the fans kind of reverted their wishes, maybe. So the 84 went maybe to 48 or something.
Yeah.
And I'm just going ahead and say this: they made Wonder Woman 84 bad just so that we enjoy the Snyder Cut even more.
Okay, conspiracy right there.
I guess.
Is it because Zack Snyder was
I
producer
guess.
on this?
Yeah.
Mm.
Maybe.
Or is it because the story was not written by him?
Oh.
We may never know.
And why
Because
did
the
they
first
release
one
this
was
on...
written by Zack Snyder.
Yeah. I wonder why they released this on HBO Max.
And actually, release the Snyderverse is actually trending on Twitter today.
Oh.
I didn't know that.
End of the day, I'm just like, Patty, why? Patty, I trusted you. Patty, why?
And she wants to do a
just
Star Wars
missing-
next. Or was it a Marvel?
Squadron.
God.
No. It's Star Wars Squadron now
Oh,
that she's
no.
going to direct.
No.
So
Please.
I'm just hoping whoever writes it, please let Jon Favreau write this. If not direct, please just let him write it.
Yeah,
because the guy knows how to write.
and he knows it's Star Wars.
Yeah, that's yeah. It's like a
I mean,
fan, true fan,
yeah.
writing Star Wars.
I mean, Patty can direct a movie, but I think she shouldn't be on the writers list.
Yeah, I agree.
They
I
should
so
give the
agree with
writing
that,
to
yeah.
someone who actually knows the material, like one of the
I
original
agree.
writers of the Wonder Woman comic book line. Like, instead of just keeping this, in-house with all the nepotism and, oh, Patty Jenkins, big name, let's just give it to her. No, go back to the source material, man. Go back to the people who made Wonder Woman who she is today.
I agree. I agree. I agree.
Missed opportunities,
Agreed.
rushed, and
Missed opportunities.
even with the
I mean-
entire year being free of other movies, DC had like no competition this year, and they still managed
They
to.
could have.
They tanked it. Like
Effort up.
Like how?
Exactly.
could
I
have
mean,
given
there's
it
so
to
much
Nolan.
expectation with this. I mean, Nolan is pretty much done with superhero movies, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think he's going to the game industry now because he's been appearing in game awards and more towards the game side. So I'm pretty sure, he's probably going to diversify into gaming now. I wouldn't mind a game from him. I mean, the guy knows how to direct and write. He pretty much screws up your mind a lot, but
It would be a very hard game to follow.
oh yeah. But as much as I hate to say it, as much as it hurts me to say it, he would dethrone Hideo Kojima. He would dethrone him easily.
Ooh.
Nolan has the power to dethrone Kojima.
Ooh.
Big claims.
It hurts me to say
now
it
we're
because I
going
love
everywhere
Kojima.
with it.
That's a
Yeah,
that's a
we're
debate.
going
That's a debate
everywhere.
for another day. Yeah.
That's a debate for another time. Yes,
Yeah.
I agree. But this was nice. This was good to
Yeah.
vent out.
Yeah.
This was low-key a therapy session.
Exactly.
It's sad
Little
that
therapy
Umar and
session.
Amar couldn't be here. I would have loved their input.
Yeah.
On this. Maybe we
All
can
we were
edit them
missing
and
was,
have them like their input at the very end. Let's see if we can make that match.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, we can ask Dr. Fate to just put them there here magically. Save the timeline.
Or if not Dr.
All
Fate,
we
Dr.
were missing
Edit.
was a big.
Dr. Edit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Right. So
So
I guess
all in all,
yeah. All in all, I guess this was a fun discussion to have about it. It's kind of sad that this movie had to, I'm not going to say flop, but had to fall this hard, even though this
Fall
year
this
was,
hard, exactly. It's sad.
yeah, like even though this year was totally free for them, they had no competition, they had nothing to worry about, they still somehow managed to mess it up. Like, it's
Managed to
really,
mess it up, exactly. And the next year, Marvel is coming back with all of its shows and everything. Marvel is coming back full blown.
yeah, like
You have Loki, you have
WandaVision coming out in a few weeks.
Yeah.
WandaVision, you have Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness and everything. So Marvel's like, okay, we don't tell us. We gave you the full feel. But yeah,
the DC also has James Gunn's Suicide Squad, Black Adam, and the Snyder.
Exactly.
So 2021 is going to be a good year. Overall.
Is it though?
For us geeks, yes.
Didn't we say
I
that about
hope so.
2020 and then
I
this
hope
whole
so.
thing happened?
Yeah.
I hope so.
Don't jinx it, man. Don't jinx it.
Yeah, don't jinx it. Don't tempt fate. No, I said that again. Don't tempt fate. Anyway.
So let's recap
Right.
what we had. Asad, you go with your numbered rating out of 10 again, one more time for the audience.
5.5 out of 10.
Okay.
Sorry. Could have been better. It had its pros and cons, but could have been better. 5.5.
Junaid,
5.5. Same as before.
Suhaib,
It could have been better, but no. 5.5.
I actually wrote down 6.5, but then when we started discussing, I had it down to 6. When we started discussing the general flaws,
General flaws.
yeah, so I put it down to 6.
well, so I'm a 6 as well. I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah, I cannot
Okay.
see it.
Yeah, that's a
Now
6
we-
for me
okay.
too.
Now we can.
So we have 2 6s and 2 5.5s. and this is from 3 DC fans and 1 casual moviegoer.
So the aggregate comes to 5.75 out of 10.
Well, little
We
lower,
still are
little lower because
left with two
like
reviews.
I get
That's
really
low.
half a vote, so it's like your guys' votes have more weight than mine, so
Nah,
maybe a little
everybody
lower.
gets equal votes.
Well, but I'm
Okay,
casual.
5.5. 5.5 is the like the consensus here.
Yeah.
5.5.
But as they say in Pakistan, 50% pe pass hai.
Oh, that's actually good. That's actually a good one.
Yeah, just
Actually
a
good.
passable movie.
Passable.
Agreed.
Yes.
Agreed. And that's
I mean, it's a one-time
that's one
watch.
for
You
the
could not
tier
watch it
list.
more than once.
I agree.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I agree. I
Agreed.
agree with that one.
Yeah, we're lucky we went for that 50% discount thingy, the cinema, but I don't think I'm gonna spend money again.
I mean,
for
I didn't get a 50% discount. I just
True.
paid for this, and I was like, oh my god, what did I pay for?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's why they released this on HBO Max. They knew that the people who were
Everybody's gonna jump to it.
yeah.
Everybody's gonna
I
jump
was
the
out for
gun.
something. I just went to AMC because it was nearby, and I wasted my money for this.
No, me and Sohaib, we actually planned this. We were like, yeah, we're gonna watch it. We're gonna hang out, and
Were
The
we
popcorns
wrong?
were good though. The popcorns were good though.
yeah,
Yeah,
We were so wrong. We were
So wrong.
so wrong. But
Anyways,
it is what
this
it
was
is.
it is what
this
it
was
is.
fun.
Yeah, I guess we wrap it up here, and through
Yeah, I think so.
the magic of editing and all that, we will have Omer and Amar hopefully here. We don't know what's gonna happen in the future, or if we can. Who knows? We might even have to revoke that wish of Omer and Amar being here. So let's see.
That's a good note to end.
Yeah. So
Thank you, Mubarak. Since we couldn't be a part of the actual podcast, we thought we'd discuss our points after everybody else had gone. Everybody had some pretty good points, wouldn't you agree? I totally agree. So now we have to talk about some of our problems, which is quite hilarious actually. So let's talk about the good points. Amar, I think you'll agree with me that the movie itself, as bad as it may be, was an okay sequel to Wonder Woman. I totally agree with you. It actually handles a lot of things very well. The story is actually not bad as its own movie. But if you think about it more as a connection to the DC extended universe, then obviously you're gonna think the movie is bad. That's exactly the point. The problem with the movie mostly stems from the fact that it's a prequel in a world where the sequel already exists. We've already seen Diana in Justice League. We've seen Diana in Batman vs Superman. It doesn't make sense to see her in a time where she existed but shouldn't technically have existed according to BVS. No, I personally think is that it seems like a sequel to Wonder Woman, but like like a separate world, like a world to Wonder Woman, like a certain event in Wonder Woman took place that made it part of a separate world, and we're focusing that on that aspect of the movie. Because if we look at it, she is able to fly now. She was not able to do that in BVS and Justice League, or make things invisible. She had never done that in BVS or Justice League. So the fact that this movie adds to that, I can think of it as like a World 2 variation. But it's not that. We can think about it all we want, but it's technically a part of this universe that DC is attempting to create. Oh, I agree with you. But if we think of it that way, at least it gives some positive to the movie. Meh. So the introduction of Cheetah as a villain would technically have been the right move for a Wonder Woman sequel. The major problem being that Cheetah is probably the worst villain in the movie. The design wise is brilliant, acting wise brilliant. But if you remove Cheetah from the movie, I am sure it changes nothing. Yeah, I mean the main focus, despite Cheetah being there, the main focus was on Maxwell Lord. So I totally agree with you on this. Like I think the only purpose Cheetah was there was just for maybe I don't know for the fans to have just so they could have some connection to a main Wonder Woman villain, but they focused more on Maxwell Lord. I thought it was going to be the opposite. Although Maxwell Lord is a big shot villain in the comics as well, I feel like fans of the Wonder Woman franchise would have wanted to see Cheetah a lot more than Maxwell. That being said, as I said earlier, remove Cheetah from the movie, it makes absolutely no difference. Even the fight scene at the end, not trying to give any spoilers here. Well, actually, we would be giving spoilers, wouldn't we? But the fight scene at the end only lasted 3 minutes. I mean, this entire build up to Cheetah and Wonder Woman, this friendship growing into villainous rivalry, was over in 3 minutes. And let's be honest, Cheetah went out in the worst way possible.
I totally agree with you on that. Totally pathetic. I laughed. I'm not kidding. I laughed at him.
I was sitting next to you. You did laugh. But despite that, I mean, Cheetah broke me, honestly. The design-wise, perfect. It was so beautifully utilized. But what they don't tell you is that everything of Cheetah we've shown you in the trailer, that's it. Like, that's it. It's over. Pack up and go home. You saw Cheetah.
Even the build-up for Cheetah was not that great. I mean, yeah, okay, fine. Again, we are going to talk about spoilers in this entire discussion. So, yes, you wish to be like Diana. Okay, perfectly fine. You get the powers. You realize that. But you losing your warmth and all that, that is just BS.
The entirety of the Cheetah development is problematic, to say the least. But design-wise, actress choice, acting, everything checks across the board. But the problem is, would the movie have been that much different if there was no Cheetah in the movie? Something to think about. And while we're on the subject of Cheetah, she did transform towards the third act of the movie using a second wish. Now, technically, the Wish Stone shouldn't be able to grant a second wish.
Yes, I agree. This shouldn't. It doesn't make sense.
Even Maxwell says that. I've already given you a wish, haven't I? To that one intern in his office.
Yes, he did. He did. Like, the wish didn't work. He's like, don't you wish that we could be successful or something like that? And he's like, yes, sir. And he's like sucking up to him. He's like, wait, I already asked you for a wish, didn't I?
So if the wish didn't work for that guy, how did it work for Cheetah?
My theory is that the wish still stands. I mean, like, even if she didn't get a wish, her wish didn't exactly change. She still has the same thing. Because Cheetah is the equal to Wonder Woman. So she still has Wonder Woman's powers and abilities. The only difference is I believe it's more of a modified addition to the existing wish rather than being a completely new wish.
Yeah, but you can't do that, can you? Because technically, if you could make an addition to the existing wish, you would have been able, a lot of people would have been able to do that. Oh, I wanted a Porsche. And now that I have it, oh, I want two. It's the same thing, it's just adding on to it. No, it doesn't quite frankly make sense. And even if we talk about the possibility that Cheetah could have renounced her wish and then made a second wish in order to become the new apex predator version of Cheetah, it still doesn't work because that sets the precedent that people are able to revoke wishes and change them.
Then there's another factor here as well. You see, around this point, her warmth, her sanity was already gone. So if she had renounced her wish to wish again, that would imply that everything good about her that she already had came back. So the sanity would tell her like, okay, no, I went through all of this trouble while having these powers. Why would I want to go through all of that again?
Like, just doesn't add up. Anything about Cheetah in this entire movie just quite frankly doesn't add up. And now that we're on the wishing stone part of this thing, Amar, do you want to start this off?
Yes. So you see, we all know that Maxwell Lord in the movie wished to become the stone, right? And using that power to get what he wants in exchange for giving everybody their dreams, their wishes, their hopes. So my question is, when he renounced his wish of no longer being the stone, where did the stone go?
That is actually a really good point. Technically, by the logic of the movie itself, the stone should have appeared right where Maxwell Lord was standing. And it didn't. Why? Where did it go? Even if we imagine it appeared back in the office, there were lots of people in the office. You're telling me nobody picked up the stone, nobody found it, and I don't even think they gave us a resolution on it. They didn't even show Diana pick up the stone and do something with it. The stone is just
straight up gone.
I would totally believe if it was something like, oh, the stone just manifested next to him, and while running he destroyed it or something, or if it was only to revert back to where it was in the office, where he made the wish, and no one cared about it, and it just got slipped away in the process. If they talked about that, at least showed that scene, I would be okay with that, because we know that every civilization the stone manifests again. They explained that in the movie, but they didn't.
The entire thing about the stone was completely left in the air. They didn't clarify any points. They didn't do anything about it. It was just, I renounce my wish to be the stone, and then nothing. And I have some other points to bring up in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
Like the pointlessness of Diana.
Oh wow, we're gonna be here a while, folks.
The we all saw the beginning of the movie. They teased it during the premiere event. They showed us the first 5 minutes. They showed us some of this scene. I think if not all of it.
Yeah.
Where Diana is younger, she's doing the tournament and everything, and she's basically taught that if you cheat, you don't deserve to win. Now that's a good lesson for anybody.
I agree.
If you cheat, you shouldn't be allowed to win. However, Diana didn't even attempt to cheat anywhere during the movie. Now, some people could argue that it was that thing built her character up and that she learned not to cheat from a young age. But then again, she keeps talking about being true to yourself and everything about that. And it would have been a nice lesson for her to recount from that adventure of hers later in the movie. From where it stands, that scene, like if you just remove that beginning scene from the entirety of the movie, it has nothing to do with the rest of it. You could watch the entirety of that movie without that 5-minute scene, and you'd still be good to go.
The only thing I can see from that scene, although being worthwhile, if they did a few things with it. A few extra things. Like, for example, with the whole Steve Trevor coming back to life thing, if she had figured out, actually found some ways to get some alternatives to keeping Steve alive, that would probably go through at some aspect of that, because you can't always cheat to get what you want, right? So she wants to find a way to keep Steve Trevor alive while renouncing her wish to get her power back. That would be some decent way, like making a trade with a villain, like talking to Cheetah or talking to Maxwell, agreeing with some sort of terms or something, using someone else's wish as the ability to bring him back, keep him permanently there. That would add a nice touch, because that would be the cheating to get what you want, but you shouldn't because you won't win. That would add a nice touch. The only thing I see from that entire scene actually making some value is giving us a small glimpse of that golden winged armor before seeing it in the third act.
Which is, by the way, between then and, oh look, we've been joined by a cat. Say hi to the camera. And honestly, between the first act and this last scene, there is literally no point to the entire armor.
Wouldn't you agree, Daisy? She agrees.
Now, I think that's pretty much everything we had to cover. Or did you have any other points?
Well, I want to talk about one more thing in general, and I just brought it up a while ago, but we'll be here a while. I want to talk about the armor.
Go for it.
Okay, so we all know just from knowing the trailers, we're shown that Diana has a golden armor, Asteria's armor. This actually is a very nice armor. Design-wise, I absolutely love it. Okay, it adds a nice touch. It looks beautiful, and as an armor to fight, it's pretty good. Too bad it's utilized in the worst possible way. One thing, like I mentioned, you're showing the armor in the beginning in that very scene. If you had shown something like, oh, that armor has always existed in Themyscira, and it found one way or another through actual means, it was sent to Diana for actual purposes. Like, say it was sent from the mother. Like, if you ever need any extra help, the armor will protect you. Asteria will be watching you at all times if you keep this armor by your side. I would love that. But no, it was just like halfway through the movie, it's like, oh, this is the myth of this person. I looked for her, I only found the armor. And suddenly she has it.
I mean, I kind of agree with you. The armor is just like, boom, I exist. I mean, there's in the beginning of this movie, there's this whole spiel about how you have to earn the armor.
Yeah.
And then boom, I just have it. I earned it. I'm a special child.
Now, another important thing. She uses the armor, and despite it being worthless, it's used well. But the problem is, it has wings. And she uses it to fly, when she already knows how to fly. She had figured out how to fly at this point. So she's like, I'll wear a golden armor with wings. Why?
I'm sure we've mentioned this before, and in case we haven't, other people before us have mentioned this. She can fly nowhere in Justice League, nowhere in Batman vs Superman. She can make things invisible, nowhere in Justice League, nowhere in BVS. She has the golden armor still.
Nowhere in BVS, nowhere in Justice League.
Because it technically wasn't destroyed, just the wings.
No, the wings weren't even destroyed. She took them off because she used them as a shield against Cheetah and then took them off. They're a little dented, but I'm pretty sure some tape and glue would help just fine.
I think Daisy here agrees, wouldn't you?
No, she's a Cheetah fan.
Anyway, I think that's pretty much everything we've had to cover.
For the most part, that'll cover up everything we want to talk about. There are a lot of good things about this movie, but there's some things about this that I really don't like. And I just remembered one more thing about the armor. It bends. When fighting Maxwell Lord in the corner at the end, where he's like giving everybody their wishes, you can clearly, if you're watching this movie later, do watch it. Pay attention to this scene in particular. When she's against the corner, when Maxwell Lord is giving everybody their wishes, you can see the armor bend against the corner. It's a steel armor. How is it doing that?
I'm sure it's just a prop malfunction, but still it shouldn't be left in the final product.
At least be edited in Photoshop frame by frame or something to keep it like at least pointing against it or something. It's not a major issue. It just bothers me. But yeah, that is the overall discussion. I think we covered all our grounds.
I think the only thing left to do is to give our scores. Amar?
I want to say 6, but the movie had some problems. There are a lot of plot inconsistencies. I would give it maybe 5.5.
Right. I'm a bit of a cynic I'm a bit of a cynic. I'm going to give it 6.5. I thought the movie was bad.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I could have rated it much worse. But I'd like to give it a chance as a standalone sequel.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think I like to look at the good in things. I'm a bit weird that way. I feel like this movie had the potential to be so much better than what it was. It just underutilized its staff, its lore, and everything. I think Asad covered it the best, although him and I don't agree mostly on how the movie should have ended, but he has some great ideas, and he's mentioned them already, about how the movie should have already functioned. And it actually does a good job of setting up everything else that would have happened coming forward in the DCEU.
Exactly. Massive props to Asad for coming up with all of that. That was actually amazing and adds a nice touch to everything. So I'm pretty sure you guys have already heard it, but I totally agree with it.
Right. And I think that's pretty much everything we've had to cover.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to hand it over back to Mubarak. See you guys in the next episode.
And we will now renounce his wish.
And thank you very much, Umair and Amar, for that beautiful contribution. And now we'd like to end this beautiful podcast. Thank you for everyone who is watching and who's made it this far. We really didn't expect you to be here. It was like, I hope you've had fun with this, and I hope we can bring you more quality content in the future. I guess that's it. Good night and Happy New Year. Yeah, take care.
Peace out.
All right, man.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And to a brighter and better 2021.
Huzzah.
For movies and life.
Amen.
Amen. All right.
Huzzah.
Amen.
Peace out.